Millionaire boss falls for his black employee, but his jealous fiancée will do anything to stop it. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. Lena Torres looked up at the huge glass building of Rivera Enterprises. She was holding her purse tightly because today was a big day. It was her first day as an assistant at one of New York's biggest companies. After many small jobs and going to night school, she finally got a real job that could change everything. Her mom would be so proud, she thought. "You've got this," she whispered to herself as she walked into the shiny lobby. The security guard checked her ID and told her to go to the 50th floor. Lena's heart beat faster as the elevator went up and up. She had met the people in human resources, but today she would meet Mateo Rivera, the boss and owner of the company. When the elevator doors opened, a tall woman with blonde hair and fancy clothes looked Lena up and down. "You must be the new assistant," she said. "I'm Lucia Stone, Mateo's fiancée. Follow me." Lena's shoes clicked on the marble floor as she followed Lucia down the hall. Some people looked at her because it was rare to see new faces on the executive floor. Lucia stopped in front of a big desk and said, "This is where you'll work. Try to keep up. The last 3 assistants didn't last long." Before Lena could say anything, the office door opened and Mateo Rivera stepped out. Lena gasped. The pictures in the magazines didn't show how handsome he really was. He was tall and had dark hair and bright blue eyes. He looked very powerful and confident. "Hello, Lena," Mateo said, holding out his hand. "Welcome aboard." When their hands touched, Lena felt something strange, like electricity. She quickly pulled away, her face turning red. "Thank you, Mr. Rivera." "I'm excited to join the team," she said, trying to stay calm. But Lucia interrupted, saying, "We need to talk about the charity gala next week." "Later, Lucia," Mateo said. "I need to get Lena up to speed on some important work." Lucia frowned but walked away, her heels clicking on the floor. The next few hours went by fast. Mateo taught Lena how to do things at the company. He was patient and kind, not like what she had expected. When Lena told him she grew up in Harlem with her mom, he shared stories about how he started his company from nothing. "Your mom must be proud of you," he said softly. Lena's smile faded. "She passed away last year from cancer," she said. "I'm sorry," Mateo said, looking at her with kindness in his eyes. "She always taught me to work hard and never give up," Lena said. "That's why this job is so important to me." Mateo smiled. "I have a good feeling about you. We're going to work very well together." The way Mateo looked at Lena made her heart race. It was a dangerous feeling. He was her boss, and he was engaged to someone else. But as the days went by, Lena couldn't ignore the growing connection between them. Mateo started asking her for her opinions on business decisions and trusted her judgment. Sometimes Lena noticed that he would look at her when he thought she wasn't watching. Lucia noticed too. She started visiting the office more often and would act possessive. She would talk about wedding plans or make little comments to remind Lena of her place. "Mateo needs his coffee at exactly 9 a.m., Lucia would say sweetly. "Black, like he likes everything else in his life." Lena kept things professional, but it was hard to ignore the way Mateo made her feel, especially during the late nights at the office. Sometimes their hands would brush when she gave him papers, and they would talk for hours about things that had nothing to do with work. One night, during a storm, Mateo asked Lena to stay late and help with an important presentation. Lucia had already left for a charity event. Lena tried not to notice when Mateo had a red lipstick mark on his cheek from Lucia's kiss. "It looks like you've written a very intense and emotional scene. Here it is as you requested." They worked in his office, and the city lights twinkled below them. As Lena reached for a file at the same time Mateo did, their fingers touched, and neither of them pulled away. "Lena," Mateo whispered, his voice rough, "I can't stop thinking about you." Lena tried to say something but couldn't. "We can't," she said. But Mateo stepped closer. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but from the moment you walked in, something changed. I've never met anyone like you." The rain was loud outside and the lightning lit up his eyes. "What about Lucia?" Lena asked. "Lucia? It's complicated," Matteo said, running a hand through his hair. "Our engagement is more about business than love, but with you, everything feels real." He reached out to touch her face, and Lena knew she should step away. This could ruin everything, but when his lips met hers, she couldn't stop it. In that moment, they both forgot about everything else. Neither of them noticed the door was slightly open or the flash of a phone camera. Lucia Stone had returned to the office and had taken a photo of them kissing. She smiled to herself. She knew this might happen. Now she had proof to get rid of the woman who dared to steal her fiancé. Lucia wasn't going to let this go. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt Matteo's kiss. She wondered what kind of woman kisses an engaged man. What would her mom think? The next morning, Lena felt cold and sick, but she wasn't going to run away. She walked into the office, her head held high, even though she felt nervous inside. Matteo wasn't in yet. He had a meeting downtown, but Lucia was waiting at Lena's desk. "Good morning, Lena," she said with a sweet smile that made Lena shiver. "Sleep well?" Lucia showed Lena the photo of their kiss. "You work fast, from secretary to homewrecker in just a few weeks." Lena felt her hands shake, but stayed calm. "What do you want?" she asked. "Oh, sweetie, I want you gone," Lucia said. "Quit today, and this stays between us. If not, I'll make sure everyone knows about you and Matteo, and it will ruin your career." Lena's chest tightened. Everything she had worked for could disappear because of one kiss. "Think about it," Lucia said. "You have until the end of the day." Lena sat at her desk, just trying not to cry. She received a text from Matteo asking if they could have lunch together, but Lena couldn't answer. Around noon, Clara from accounting stopped by her desk. "You okay?" she asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Lena told Clara everything that had happened. "I messed up," Lena said. Clara lowered her voice and said, "Everyone's noticed the way Mr. Rivera looks at you. He hasn't looked at Lucia like that in a long time. But you have to be careful. Lucia comes from old money and power. She doesn't like not getting her way." Clara squeezed Lena's hand. "Don't let her trap you. Talk to Matteo. If he cares about you like I think he does, he'll help you." Lena wasn't sure. "Men like Matteo don't throw everything away for women like me," she said. But Clara's right, Lena thought. I can't just run away. She decided to sleep on it and think about what to do. But just then, Lucia walked past Lena's desk and into Matteo's office, a smile on her face. Lena saw Lucia and Matteo arguing. Lucia was holding her phone and Matteo looked pale. When Lucia stormed out, she gave Lena a smug look and said, "I just sent that photo to every boss. By tomorrow, everyone will know what kind of person you really are." Lena felt dizzy. She grabbed her purse and ran for the elevator, ignoring Matteo calling her name. She couldn't face him or anyone. She was halfway to the subway when her phone rang. It was Matteo, but she didn't pick up. She cried all the way home on the train. Later that night, she checked her messages. It wasn't Matteo's voice, but Lucia's. "I hope you're happy," Lucia said angrily. "Matteo called off our engagement, but don't think you've won. By the time I'm done with you, you'll wish you'd never come to Rivera Enterprises." Lena sat in her dark apartment, staring at her phone. Matteo had ended things with Lucia for her. But before she could think about it, another message came up from Clara. "Girl, turn on Channel 7 now. Lucia is doing a live interview about her broken engagement, and she's making you look like a bad person." It's bad, Lena. This scene is filled with tension, passion, and drama, which keeps the reader hooked. Do you have plans for how this situation will unfold for Lena and Matteo? Lena turned on the TV. She saw Lucia crying on screen, saying how Lena had tricked Matteo and stolen him from her. "I just want other women to be warned," Lucia sobbed. "There are women like her everywhere. pretending to be innocent while they destroy families. Lena turned off the TV, feeling sick. Her phone was buzzing with messages from coworkers and friends, all asking if it was true. Tomorrow, her face would probably be all over the news. Then someone knocked on her door. Through the peephole, she saw Matteo standing outside looking worried. "Lena, please," he called. "Let me explain. Let me fix this." Lena leaned her head against the door and cried. "Go away, Matteo. Just go away." "I'm not leaving until you talk to me," he said. "I ended things with Lucia because I love you. What I feel for you is real." Lena's heart pounded. She wanted to open the door and fall into his arms, but Lucia's words kept echoing in her mind. "No good company will hire you after this scandal," Lucia had said. "I know you're scared," Matteo said softly, "but we can face this together. Let me show you how much you mean to me." Lena thought about what her mom used to tell her. Sometimes the hardest choice is the right choice. Was the right choice opening the door or keeping it shut? Lena didn't sleep at all that night. She could hear Matteo knocking and begging to talk to her. By 3 a.m, everything went quiet. When Lena peeked outside in the morning, she saw him asleep in the hallway, his suit wrinkled and his hair messy. She felt her heart squeeze. She'd never seen the powerful CEO like this before. "Matteo," she said softly, touching his shoulder. "Wake up." His eyes opened. "Lena, thank God. Please, can we talk?" She glanced at her watch. "I have to get ready for work." "You can't go to the office today," Matteo said. "The reporters are all outside after Lucia's interview." Lena's stomach dropped. "Then I definitely need to go in. I won't hide like I did something wrong." Matteo stood up, stretching. "Let me drive you. We can talk on the way." Lena didn't want to, but she knew he was right. "Fine, give me 30 minutes. While she showered and dressed, her phone kept buzzing with messages. Her sister, her old boss, even college friends all asking if the story was true. When she came out, Matteo was pacing her living room, talking on the phone. "I don't care what it costs," he said. "Get the PR team on this. Call an emergency meeting for 9 a.m. When he saw her, he sighed. "I'm so sorry, Lena. I should have handled things with Lucia better." "You think?" Lena grabbed her purse. "Let's go. The sooner we get this over with, the better." The ride to the office was quiet. Matteo kept trying to explain, but Lena stared out the window, watching the city wake up. Her life was falling apart, and she couldn't even blame Lucia. She was the one who kissed an engaged man. When they pulled into the parking garage, Matteo grabbed her hand. "Lena, please look at me." She turned, fighting back tears. "I love you," he said simply. Lena's heart stopped. "What?" "I love you. I think I've loved you since that first day when you talked about your mom and your dreams. Lucia was right about one thing. After you started working for me, I changed. You made me remember who I was before all this, before I cared more about money and power than real connections." Lena blinked, surprised. "You watch me?" "I pay attention," he said softly. "I've seen your kindness, your strength, your integrity. Maybe I fell too fast. Maybe this is crazy, but I know what I feel." Before Lena could answer, his phone buzzed. "The board's waiting," he said, sighing. "Let me handle this." They took the elevator to the top floor, where the conference room was full of people. Lucia was there too, sitting next to Matteo's brother, Michael. Matteo squeezed Lena's hand. "No, I'm not ready," he whispered. "Let's do this anyway," Lena said. They walked into the conference room and everyone went silent. Lucia looked at them, eyes full of anger. "What's the meaning of this?" Matteo's brother, Michael, asked. Matteo stood tall. "I'm here to set the record straight. Lena Torres is not some gold digger or bad person. She's the woman I love. My relationship with Lucia ended long before anything happened with Lena." Lucia jumped up. "That's a lie. We were happy until she came along and took him." "Were we?" Matteo asked bitterly. "We were just business partners. You knew that. The only thing between us was ambition." Lucia's face turned bright red. "After everything my family has done for this company. You mean the loans your father arranged, which I paid back with interest years ago?" Matteo cut her off. He turned to the board. I know you're worried about the company's reputation, but I won't let someone ruin an innocent woman's life with lies and manipulation. Lucia pulled out her phone. Does an innocent woman kiss her engaged boss? That's enough. Clara's voice cut through the room. Lena hadn't even noticed her friend slip in. Clara walked up to the screen and plugged in her phone. The video started playing. It showed Lucia in Matteo's office with Michael talking about their plan to take over the company. Once the merger is done, Lucia said, we'll have controlling shares and push Matteo out. The room was silent. Where did you get this? Lucia whispered. I'm head of IT security, Clara said calmly. I've been watching you and Michael for months. I've got everything. Michael stood up, straightening his tie. This proves nothing. It's probably doctored. The timestamps and metadata are intact, Clara replied. I've already sent copies to everyone on the board. Lucia lunged for her phone, but Matteo grabbed it. I think we've seen enough, one of the board members said. Michael, Lucia, you need to leave before we call security. Lucia stood up, furious. Daddy's lawyers will. Matteo interrupted her quietly. Try explaining why your daughter tried to destroy an innocent woman's life. Go ahead, call them. Lucia and Michael stormed out. Matteo turned to the board. I'm sorry for the scandal. I take responsibility, but if you want my resignation, don't be ridiculous, an older board member said. You built this company from nothing. We're not letting a pair of scheming vipers drive you out. He turned to Lena. We owe you an apology. Lena could barely understand what was happening. Just 10 minutes ago, she thought she was going to lose everything. Now she said, Thank you, Clara. Clara grinned. Girl, please. I've been waiting to take her down for years. You just gave me the chance. And the meeting ended quickly. Many people stopped to shake Lena's hand or offer words of support. Matteo stayed by her side. Later, Lena stood in her new office. How's it feel? Matteo asked. Bigger than my old desk, then Lena said with a small laugh. As they were having dinner together, Matteo kissed her softly and said, I want to show you something special tonight. But Lena said she couldn't because she promised her friend Clara she would help her move into her new apartment. Matteo seemed a little disappointed, but smiled and said, Okay, tomorrow then. Don't make any plans. Lena smiled back, but she was curious about what Matteo had planned for tomorrow. That night, while Lena helped Clara unpack boxes, she noticed that Clara seemed distracted. Are you okay? Lena asked. Clara looked at her phone again and said, I've been watching some strange things happening with our computer systems. It looks like someone is trying to hack us, but they're being really careful about it. Lena frowned. Maybe it's Lucia, she said, but this is way more complicated than what she could do. Clara sat down and added, I've set up extra security, but something just doesn't feel right. While Lena's phone buzzed with a message from Matteo saying, Miss you, can't wait for tomorrow, Clara kept looking at her phone. Lena smiled, replying to Matteo, feeling happy, but then she noticed Clara was still upset. What's going on? Lena asked again. Clara whispered, I think someone is messing with our computer systems. It's not Lucia, it's worse. The next day, Lena woke up to find out that Matteo had been arrested. The news said he was charged with stealing money from his company. Lena was shocked and called him right away, but he didn't answer. She called his lawyer, who told her it was a setup. Someone planted fake evidence to make it look like Matteo stole money, the lawyer said. Lena couldn't believe it. Who did this? She whispered, thinking about Lucia. At work, Lena found out that someone had destroyed the real evidence and replaced it with fake records to make Matteo look guilty. Michael, who was at the company, said that he was now the temporary CEO and that they were suspending Lena from her job. You're fired, he told her, smiling smugly. Lena was upset, but Clara was determined to fight back. We can prove Matteo didn't do this, she said. I've got secret backups of all the records, and I know just who to call for help. An hour later, they met Raphael, an old friend of Clara's who used to work with the FBI. Raphael was a computer expert, and he said he could help find the people behind this. Lena's phone rang, and it was Mateo's lawyer again. He told her that the prosecutor was offering Mateo a deal. If Mateo agreed to say he was guilty, he could avoid a longer sentence. Lena felt worried, but the lawyer said they didn't have enough proof to fight back yet. Lena went to visit Mateo in jail. When he saw her, he smiled tiredly. "I don't want you getting involved in this," he said. "Just take the money they're offering and leave this behind." Lena shook her head. "I'm not leaving you, Mateo. We'll fix this. You can propose to me after we get you out of here." Back at Clara's apartment, Raphael was working all night on his computer. Finally, he found something. "I got it," he said. The hacker used special information from a security company owned by Lucia's father, Richard Stone. And look at this. Money from the company was being stolen and sent to Richard Stone's accounts. They were using Mateo as a scapegoat. Lena felt hope. "We can prove it was Richard Stone," she said. But just as they were about to move forward, Lena's phone buzzed with another photo, this time of her sister and her kids. The message read, "Back off or they're next." Lena's heart dropped. "They're threatening my family," she said, shaking. Clara said, "We need to stop this now. Let's hack into Stone Industries and get the truth out." The next morning, Raphael was still working hard. He found more evidence. These emails show that Richard Stone and Gabriel Rivera have been planning this takeover for years, he said. They needed Mateo out of the way so they could take over the company. Lena's eyes widened. And the money that went missing, they were using it to bribe people and keep things quiet. This is big. Lena's phone buzzed again, another photo of her sister and kids. "They're getting closer," Lena said, her voice shaking. "We need to end this today." Clara nodded. "I've got people watching your sister. She's safe." Lena felt a little better, but still worried. Raphael said, "We have enough to take down Richard and Lucia, but we need to know who to give it to." Clara said, "I have FBI friends. I can help with that." Lena paced around the room, worried about Mateo. "But Mateo is still in jail. We need to get him out too." Raphael smiled. "I found something else. Lucia has been visiting the prosecutor in charge of Mateo's case. They've been talking about making sure Mateo takes the plea deal before anyone can prove he's innocent." Lena's heart sank. "That's witness tampering," she said. "We can use that against them." Lena rushed to Mateo's lawyer's office. But when she got there, the lawyer was upset. "They're moving up Mateo's arraignment to 2 hours from now. They're trying to force him into a guilty plea," the lawyer said. Lena's heart raced. "No, we need more time. We have proof he's innocent." She called Clara. "We're running out of time. We need to stop this now." Clara said, "Don't worry. We're almost there. Just get to the courthouse and stall them." Lena rushed to the courthouse where reporters were gathered around. Lucia and her father were walking up the stairs, acting like nothing was wrong. Inside, Lena found Mateo, who looked sad. "Don't take the deal, Mateo," Lena said. "We have proof you're innocent." Just then, Michael appeared, smiling. "The show's over," he said. But Clara, Raphael, and 2 FBI agents walked in. "You're under arrest," one of the agents said. "We have proof that you and Lucia were involved in all of this." Mr. Rivera wasn't the one going to jail today. Michael tried to run away, but they caught him quickly. Lucia screamed when the police put handcuffs on her wrists. "This is not fair," Richard yelled. "Do you know who I am?" "A criminal," Clara said calmly, "and we can prove it." The prosecutor came rushing over, his face pale when he saw the proof Raphael had found. "Your Honor," he said to the judge who had just walked in, "the state is dropping all charges against Mateo Rivera." Everything happened so fast after that. The guards took off Mateo's handcuffs, and Lucia and her father were taken away, still shouting. Michael was caught trying to hide in a bathroom. Then Mateo held Lena in his arms. "I don't understand," he whispered. "How did you do all this?" "She had help," Clara said, smiling. "Lots of help. No one messes with my friends. Raphael cleared his throat. Not to interrupt, but there's something else you need to see. He opened his laptop and showed them security camera footage from Stone Industries. It showed Richard Stone shredding important papers and deleting files right after Matteo was arrested. Classic sign of guilt, the FBI agent said. With this and the digital proof, he's in serious trouble. Matteo pulled Lena closer. I can't believe you did all this for me. Lena smiled. Actually, there's something else you should know. She took him to a quiet spot away from everyone. Remember when you talked about proposing to me? After everything we've been through because of me? Matteo nodded, looking confused. Because of you, Lena said, touching his face. I fought for you because I love you, because I believe in you, and because I learned a long time ago that running away from love only leads to regret. Matteo pulled out a ring from his pocket. They had given him back his things when they let him go. I was going to do this at sunset, with flowers and music, but this is better. Lena's eyes filled with tears as he got down on one knee in the courthouse hallway. Lena Torres, you saved my life in more ways than one. Will you marry me? Yes, she whispered, her heart full. 1,000 times yes, they kissed, and everyone around them clapped. Some reporters even started taking pictures. Now that's a good story, one reporter said, wiping away tears. Clara gave them both a big hug. All right, lovebirds, time to get back to work. There's a company to save. As they walked outside, Lena saw Lucia being put into a police car. Lucia's eyes locked with hers, and she twisted her face in hate. She mouthed, "This isn't over." Lena just smiled and held Matteo's hand tighter. They would face whatever came next together. Inside the police car, Lucia pulled out a secret phone and sent a last message. Somewhere in the city, a computer got the message, and files began downloading. A timer started counting down. Clara's phone buzzed with an alert. She looked at it, her face going pale. Guys, she called to Lena and Matteo, we might have a problem. The entire system at Rivera Enterprises was shutting down. Everything, Clara said, her voice shaky. Security, elevators, climate control, Lucia's final revenge. Matteo sighed. Can you stop it? Not from here, Clara said, already running toward her car. Whatever she's done, it's bad. Really bad. They rushed through the city streets, trying to get to the office. Lena's phone rang. It was the head of human resources. Miss Torres, thank goodness you're here. The computers are going crazy, files are disappearing, and there's a countdown on every screen. We're on our way, Lena said. Tell everyone to stay calm. When they reached the parking garage, the chaos was everywhere. Employees were running out of the building, holding their things. Someone shouted that the elevators were broken and the building was getting hot. They all ran up the emergency stairs, gasping for breath. When they reached the IT department, it looked like a scene from a disaster movie. Every screen had the same red countdown clock. 45 minutes, Raphael said, looking worried. Lena asked, what happens when the timer hits 0? Raphael quickly typed on his laptop. Not good. This virus isn't just deleting files. It's making the building systems go crazy. Matteo asked, what does that mean? The heat is rising because the climate control is working too hard. Same with the electricity. When the timer hits 0, the whole system could blow up. We have to evacuate, Matteo said. Wait, Clara said. Look at what it's attacking first. Our client data, our financial records, everything that keeps the company running. She's trying to destroy us. Lena's heart sank. Can we stop it? Raphael cracked his knuckles. Maybe, but we need to get to the main server room. It's 4 floors down. No elevators? Lena asked. Then we better start climbing, Matteo said, grabbing a flashlight. For the next 30 minutes, they fought a digital battle. Raphael and Clara worked from the IT room while Matteo and Lena ran up and down the stairs, following instructions. 15 minutes left, Clara called over the phone. We need to get into the server room, but Lucia changed all the passwords. Clara's voice was full of panic. Lena thought quickly. What about the backup servers? The ones in the old building? Clara paused, then said, "The old building. That might work." Matteo turned to Lena. "You're brilliant. Those servers aren't connected to the main system. Lucia won't know about them." He grabbed his phone. "Clara, if we can get to the old servers, can you use them to stop the virus?" Clara said, "Yes, but you have less than 15 minutes and the warehouse is across town." "Trust me," Matteo said, looking at Lena. "We can make it." They jumped into Matteo's car and sped through traffic, ignoring red lights. Lena held on tight, praying they'd make it. 10 minutes, Clara's voice crackled through the phone. "The temperature is getting critical. We're seeing smoke in the server room." The warehouse was dark when they arrived, but Matteo had an old key. They ran inside, and Lena's flashlight beam moved over dusty shelves. "Where is it?" Matteo called. "The back office. Let's go." They found the servers, still running despite all the dust. Matteo quickly connected his phone. "Clara, we're here. Now what?" Raphael's voice came through. "Connect to the blue cable. It should have a direct link to the main building." Matteo typed quickly on the keyboard. "Done!" 7 minutes, Clara called. "Initiating override." Then she shouted, "Wait! Lucia put in a failsafe. It needs her personal password." Lena thought hard. What would she use? What's important to her? Her daddy's princess, Lena remembered. The photo on her desk when she was a little girl with a tiara. Her father always called her that. Clara typed quickly. "It worked. The virus is contained. Systems are being restored." Lena sighed in relief, leaning against Matteo. "That was amazing. How did you know her password?" "I was her enemy, but I was also her fiancé's assistant." "That," Lena said. "I noticed things." Matteo's phone buzzed with a message from the FBI agent. "We got Lucia's message. They're adding cyber terrorism to her charges. She won't be getting out anytime soon." They drove back to the office, feeling exhausted but relieved. But when they walked through the lobby, Lena saw something strange. A cleaning lady, someone she didn't recognize, was mopping the floor and watching them closely. The woman pulled out her phone, and Lena saw she was texting someone named Mrs. Stone. "Lucia's mother," Matteo whispered. Lena's heart skipped a beat. They had been so focused on Richard and Lucia that they forgot about Isabella Cruz, the quiet, polite woman who always stayed in the background, but now Lena remembered something. Isabella used to run a tech company that took over other businesses. The quiet ones, Lena realized, are often the most dangerous. As if she could hear Lena's thoughts, the cleaning lady smiled, a cold, familiar smile. The war wasn't over. It was just starting again. Isabella Cruz sat in her fancy apartment, sipping tea and watching the news about her husband and daughter's arrests. She looked calm, but inside she had a plan. She smiled coldly, knowing that no one suspected her. "Tell me about Lena Torres," she asked her maid. "She's clever, but I almost admire her." The maid replied, "We should eliminate her as a threat." Isabella shook her head. "No, Lucia made things personal. We'll do this the smart way." She opened her laptop and looked at files on Lena Torres. Lena's strength is her love for Matteo. That will also be her weakness. Lena and Matteo had a long and tiring day. Lena had moved into his big, fancy penthouse a week ago, and it still felt like a dream to her. The view was beautiful, and she loved falling asleep with Matteo beside her. But tonight, something was on her mind. Matteo noticed she looked distracted. "What's wrong?" he asked. "It was the cleaning woman today," Lena said. "Something felt strange." "Don't worry. Lucia and her father are in jail. It's over," Matteo said, hugging her. But Lena couldn't stop feeling uneasy. "What do you know about Lucia's mother, Isabella?" Matteo replied. "Not much. She's quiet, stays in the background, and only shows up at charity events." Lena took out her phone and texted her friend Clara, asking for anything she could find about Isabella Cruz. Clara quickly replied, "Come to my place tomorrow. You need to see this." That night, Lena dreamed of her mother. They were sitting together at their old kitchen table, drinking coffee. Her mother said, "Remember what I taught you about chess. Sometimes the queen focuses so much on the knights and bishops that she forgets about the pawns, and that can cost her. Lena woke up, feeling scared. Matteo was sleeping beside her. Another nightmare? He asked. I don't know, she replied, walking to the window. The city lights shone below, beautiful but also dangerous. Lena checked her phone. A message from her sister read, "A strange woman came to work today. She said she was from a private school and asked about your niece and nephew." Lena felt her heart stop. She quickly forwarded the message to Clara. The next morning, she met Clara and Raphael at Clara's apartment. Raphael was looking at computers. Isabella Cruz, Clara started. Before she married Richard, she ran a company called Phoenix Digital. They bought struggling companies and made their computers crash until the companies had to sell. Guess who bought them for cheap? Stone Industries, Lena whispered. Clara continued. Isabella was the smart one behind it all. She wrote the computer codes to cause the crashes. But when she married Richard, she supposedly retired and became the perfect wife. Raphael pulled up some files. I found out that after Phoenix Digital closed, some of their old employees now work for companies Isabella owns. One of them is Catalina Herrera, a former CIA worker. Lena's phone buzzed. It was a photo of her sister's kids at their school playground, taken that morning. The message said, "Such beautiful children. Shame if anything happens to their college fund." What college fund? Matteo asked, looking at her phone. Lena shook. The money I've been sending my sister, it's gone. Someone took it. Clara quickly started working on it. Raphael was already tracing the hacker. Lena's phone buzzed again. It was a video of her and Matteo kissing in his office, taken the first night they were together. A voicemail from Isabella said, "I have more. Meet me for tea tomorrow, just us girls. I'll text you the address." Matteo wanted to stop her, but Lena said, "I have to go. She's threatening my family now." Clara warned, "It's a trap." Lena nodded. "Maybe it's time to trap her back." That night, Lena sat alone in the office looking at old news stories about Isabella Cruz. She was always in the background, quiet, but Lena recognized the same look in her eyes as Lucia's, the look of someone plotting against others. Lena's phone lit up with another text from Isabella. "I actually like you. You remind me of myself when I was your age, ambitious and willing to do anything. Let me help you." Lena thought about her mother's words in the dream and how the queen sometimes forgets the pawns. She texted Isabella back, "Name the time and place." Isabella quickly replied, "The plaza at noon tomorrow. Come alone, or your sister's children lose more than their college fund." Lena called Clara. "I need a favor," she said quietly. "Something Matteo can't know about." Clara was nervous. "What are you planning?" Lena looked at Matteo, sleeping in bed. "Something terrible," she whispered. "Something that might save us all." At Isabella's house, she was smiling at her phone, thinking everything was going according to plan. But she didn't know about the tiny camera Clara had hidden in the orchid. The game was changing. The next day, Lena went to the Plaza Hotel. It was fancy, with expensive people all around. The waiter led her to Isabella's table. Isabella stood up to greet her, wearing a fancy cream Chanel outfit. "Lena, darling, you look lovely," Isabella said, pouring tea. Lena forced a smile. "Thank you for inviting me." Isabella laughed softly. "I suppose you're wondering why I wanted to meet. I want to offer you a choice. Matteo Rivera is finished. I've placed my people in his company. With one word, everything crashes. Systems fail, clients run away, just like Phoenix Digital." Lena kept calm and asked, "Why me?" "Because you're like me," Isabella answered. "You've survived. You understand that love is weakness, but power is forever." "What about Matteo?" Lena asked. "He'll lose everything, but he'll survive," Isabella said, pretending to care. "Men move on, but you'll be rich. All you have to do is help me take control of Rivera Enterprises." Lena set down her cup. She had a tiny device on her bracelet, secretly sending every word to Clara. The FBI was waiting to move in. Lena thought about Matteo, still peacefully sleeping that morning, and the note she'd left him. Isabella smiled. "Help me," and I'll transfer $10 million to an offshore account in your name. Lena whispered, $10 million? Isabella smiled. Think about it. No more worrying about your sister or the future. Lena's phone buzzed with a message from Clara. We got everything. You okay? Lena was about to reply when another message came through, this time from Matteo. Where are you? We need to talk. Lena's heart sank. The message included a photo of Lena meeting Isabella, shaking hands across the table. Someone must have sent it to him, Clara said. Lena was confused. What if Isabella isn't working alone? What if this meeting was a distraction? Lena rushed back to Rivera Enterprises. The lobby was strangely quiet. The elevator door opened and Lena gasped when she saw Gabriel Rivera standing there. You're supposed to be in jail, she said. Michael grabbed her arm. Amazing what good lawyers can do, he said. Isabella sends her regards. Lena realized Isabella and Michael were working together. Isabella needed someone inside the company and Michael needed her skills. It was a perfect match. They took her to Matteo's office, where she saw Matteo and Isabella talking. Isabella handed Matteo a tablet. His face went pale when he saw what was on it. You're going to watch your world burn, Michael said with a grin. But Lena pressed a button on her bracelet, sending an emergency signal. Raphael and the FBI were ready. The computers in the building came alive as Raphael ran his program. The FBI agents moved in quickly. Michael pulled out his phone, looking confused. What's this? He asked. Lena smiled. It's over. All your secrets are now with the FBI. The elevator doors opened and FBI agents stepped out, arresting Gabriel Rivera. Lena rushed to Matteo's office just in time to stop Isabella from escaping. Going somewhere? She asked. Isabella's calmness faded as she realized everything was falling apart. You stupid girl, Isabella yelled, but Lena said calmly, I already have everything I need. Lena squeezed Matteo's hand. Let it go, she whispered. As the FBI took Isabella away, Lena turned to Matteo and said, I have love, I have family, and I have the truth. What do you have, Isabella? Isabella's face crumpled as the elevator doors closed. Matteo pulled Lena into his arms. I got your note this morning. I thought you were betraying me. She touched his face, but they needed Isabella to believe it. It was the only way to catch her and stop her from hurting anyone else. You risked everything, Lena said. She smiled through her tears. I protected everything, just like my mom always said. Sometimes you have to weather the storm to see the rainbow. But as they hugged, Lena's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Congratulations, dear. You won this round, but remember, every queen was once a pawn. See you in a few years. Lena deleted the message. Tomorrow's problem, she thought. Right now, she was in Matteo's arms, and that's all that mattered. The storm clouds were gathering over the city outside, but Lena wasn't scared anymore. She had faced so many challenges and was ready for whatever came next. 6 months had passed since Isabella Cruz, the bad woman who caused so much trouble, was arrested. Life at Rivera Enterprises was slowly going back to normal. Lena had been promoted to Director of Corporate Communications, and she sat in her new office looking at wedding magazines. She still couldn't decide on flowers for the wedding. I still can't decide, she said. Clara, her friend, walked in with coffee. Matteo says to get whatever you want. Lena sighed. It feels wrong to spend so much on one day. Go for it, Clara said. You're marrying one of the richest men in New York. Live a little. Lena smiled, but her eyes looked at a photo on her desk. It was a picture of her mother at Lena's graduation, beaming with pride. I just wish she were here to help plan everything, Lena said. She is here, Clara said, squeezing her hand. She's in your heart, and she would be so proud of you. Lena's phone buzzed again. It was a message from her sister. The kids can't stop talking about their new school. Thank you again for the tuition. Matteo had insisted on setting up a trust fund for Lena's niece and nephew after everything that happened. Family takes care of family, he had said simply. Miss Torres, the voice on the intercom said, there's a woman here to see you. She says she's an old friend. Did she give a name? Lena asked. Catalina Herrera, came the reply. Clara was already reaching for her phone, but Lena stopped her. Send her in. Catalina Herrera, Isabella's former maid, walked in. She looked tired and different, dressed in civilian clothes. Before you call security, I'm here to warn you about Isabella, Catalina said quickly. She's planning something from prison. I don't know what exactly, but she's been getting visits from some powerful people, and she keeps talking about a wedding. Lena felt her heart race. My wedding to Matteo is in 3 weeks, she whispered. Why are you telling me this? Lena asked. Catalina sat down. Because I'm tired. Isabella promised me wealth and power, but in the end, she took everything. My savings, my reputation. How do we know this isn't another trap? Clara demanded. You don't, Catalina said and handed Lena her phone. But check my phone, it's full of messages from Isabella. She still thinks I'm loyal to her. Lena looked at the messages. Isabella was still plotting, calling in favors, and moving money in secret. Should we postpone the wedding? Matteo asked when Lena told him everything. No, Lena said firmly. I'm not letting her control our lives anymore. But maybe we should make some changes to the plans. The next few weeks were full of preparations, but not the kind most brides dealt with. While caterers arranged flowers and musicians practiced songs, Clara and Raphael set up security systems. FBI agents were hired to pose as guests, and everyone was ready. The morning of the wedding, the sun was shining. Lena stood in the bridal suite looking at herself in the mirror. You look beautiful, her sister whispered, adjusting her veil. Lena touched the locket around her neck. It was her mother's. Inside was a tiny photo of her mother smiling the way only she could. Lena remembered how her mom had always been strong. Ready? Clara asked, appearing in her maid of honor dress. Security is in place, she added. If Isabella has something planned, we'll catch it. But as Lena walked down the aisle toward Matteo, she couldn't think about Isabella. All she could think about was marrying the love of her life. The church was filled with family and friends. The ceremony began, and sunlight poured through the stained glass windows. When the priest asked if anyone objected, Lena held her breath. But there was only silence. I do, she said clearly. I do, Matteo echoed, sliding the ring onto her finger. They were married. Matteo kissed her, and everyone cheered. The reception was like a fairy tale. Lena danced with her new husband, laughing as he twirled her around. Mrs. Rivera, he whispered, that's going to take some getting used to. We have a lifetime to practice, Lena smiled. But then things took a turn. As the champagne was poured for toasts, Clara's phone buzzed. Her face went pale as she read the message. Lena, she said urgently, you need to see this. It was an email from Isabella sent to every major news outlet in the country. The subject was the true story of Lena Torres. Lena's hands shook as she opened it. Inside, there were secrets about her childhood, things she had never told anyone. Her father hadn't abandoned them, like she had always said. He had died in prison. Her mother had worked 3 jobs, one of them cleaning the office where Lena would later become an executive. She's trying to humiliate us, Lena whispered. Make it look like I lied my way into high society. But Matteo didn't panic. He took the phone and did something surprising. He forwarded the email to everyone in his contact list. What are you doing? Lena asked. Telling the world how proud I am of you, Matteo said. Proud of the woman you've become. Proud that you came from a mother who worked so hard to give you a better life. Proud that you overcame every obstacle. He took her hand. No more secrets. No more shame. Lena smiled, feeling her heart swell. Isabella thought this would destroy us. Let's show her how wrong she is. Lena looked around the room at the people who were there. There were rich socialites and her old neighbors from Harlem, and business people dancing with her sister's kids. My mom used to say that real class isn't about where you come from. It's about how you treat people along the way. She took the microphone from the band leader. I want to thank everyone for coming today. And yes, I see some of you checking your phones and reading about my past. She squeezed Mateo's hand. I'm not ashamed of where I came from. My parents made mistakes, but they loved me. My mom worked so hard to give me an education. She taught me that dignity isn't about your bank account or your address. It's about your character. The room was silent, everyone listening closely. So thank you, Isabella Cruz, wherever you are. Thank you for reminding me that I have nothing to hide. I'm Lina Torres Rivera, daughter of a cleaning lady and a man who paid for his mistakes. I married the love of my life today, and no amount of secrets or schemes can take that joy away. The room erupted in applause, and Mateo kissed her again. Soon everyone was dancing again. Later that night, as they swayed to the last song, Lina smiled at her new husband. Do you think we'll ever have a normal life? Normal's overrated, he kissed her softly. Besides, with Isabella in prison, what's the worst that could happen? But then Lina's phone buzzed again. It was a text from Catalina. She's being released next month for good behavior. Mateo looked at Lina, feeling her tense up. What's wrong? Tomorrow's problem, Lina said firmly, tucking her phone away. Tonight is just about us. But as they danced under the sparkling chandeliers, Lina couldn't help wondering what Isabella's next move would be. After all, in chess, the game isn't over until the queen falls, and Isabella was still very much in play. 1 year later, Lina stood in the nursery of their penthouse, watching the sunrise over the city. Her hand rested on her growing belly. She was 6 months pregnant with their first child. Good morning, little one, she whispered. Your daddy's coming home today. Mateo had been in London for a week, but now he was back. The company was stronger than ever, and Lina had everything she had ever dreamed of. Her phone buzzed with news about Isabella. Isabella Cruz released from federal prison. Lina took a deep breath. She wasn't afraid. We'll handle it, she said. When Mateo got home, he surprised her with a painting of her mother. It was perfect. She looks so real, Lina said, tracing her mother's face in the picture. Mateo handed her an envelope. Inside was paperwork for a new charitable foundation, the Beatriz Torres Memorial Scholarship Fund. It would help children of single parents get college scholarships, just like her mother had worked hard to give her an education. Lina couldn't speak. She just hugged him tightly. Then Lina's phone rang. It was Isabella. Miss me? Isabella said. Lina didn't answer. She knew Isabella was still trying to cause trouble. What do you want? Lina asked. Isabella offered a peace offering. She sent Lina some videos showing her mother's old enemies making plans. I'm done with revenge, Isabella said. I'm offering a business deal instead. I want a small position on the board. Lina didn't trust her, but she thought carefully. Call the board, Lina said to Mateo. I have an idea. 2 weeks later, Lina sat in a meeting with Isabella. Congratulations, Lina said. You're on the advisory board, but if you try anything, you're out. Isabella smiled. We'll see. Lina stood up, her hand on her belly. This is a transaction, nothing more. Later that night, Lina stood in front of the window, watching the city sparkle. So much had changed. She had love, strength, and a family. Isabella and her schemes didn't matter anymore. Lina had learned the most important lesson. True power isn't in money or revenge. It's in love, truth, and the legacy you leave behind. She felt her daughter kick inside her. Sweet dreams, baby girl, she whispered. Your story is just beginning. And in the city below, another chapter of their lives was already starting to unfold. But that, Lina knew, was tomorrow's tale. Thanks for watching. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.